Morning, Chase. So, just going to do an example for you of that question that you asked me about from yesterday. So, let me pop up my board and we'll go with that. So give it a second here to pop in. So, what these are they're solving rational equation word problems. So, I said day 16 for some reason, but it's actually day 14 that we did this. So, I'm going to do an example of that for you here. So, let me just make one up here for you, and then we'll get started on it. So I'm just going to pause, and we'll make one up and type it in, and then we'll get started on that on an unpause. Okay. So here we have an example that I came up with. So a person rides their bike with the wind, causing the speed that they travel to be 1.2 kilometers an hour faster than their normal bike speed. When they travel against the wind, it's 1.2 kilometers per hour slower. If the trip they take is 11 kilometers there and back, find the bike speed if the trip takes 4 hours total. So this is a speed time type question. So we know when we're doing these, let me just get my marker here. There we go. And so when we're doing these, we know that the relationship. There we go. Not that one. Come on, marker. Stupid marker doesn't want to come over here. Okay, well, we'll just have to go this way. Okay, so speed equals distance over time. So then we know that distance equals speed times time, and we know that time equals distance over speed. So this is one we're going to end up using here. So we're going to look at going with the wind and against. So you've got to chart these out. So we know that we're going to go a distance. We know that we're going to have a speed, and we know that we're going to have a time for each case. Okay, so the first thing that we do is we want to find the speed that he has on his bike without wind. So let's say x equals the speed of travel on the bike. Okay, so his distance that he goes is 11 kilometers both ways. Okay. Going there and back. His speed with the wind is x plus 1.2 kilometers an hour. His speed against the wind is x minus 1.2 kilometers an hour. So then we got to do the time. So the time is going to be 11 over x plus 1.2 here. And the time here is going to be 11 over x minus 1.2. Okay, and this is the one that we want to work with, the time, because we know his total time is 4 hours. So if we add these two last things in the column, we know that it's going to take 4 hours. So we're going to say that 11 over x plus 2, 1.2, plus 11 over x minus 1.2 is going to equal 4 hours of travel for the whole trip. Okay, so that's kind of how we solve it. So now we're just going to solve this using rationals. So we've got to take the two bottom numbers and multiply each of these expressions by them to eliminate them. So we're going to go 11 times x plus 1.2 times x minus 1.2 all over x plus 1.2. Same thing here. Okay, and that's over x minus 1.2. And then this one, we're going to have to put all of it there because there's nothing that's on the bottom. So that's going to equal 4 times x plus 1.2 times x minus 1.2. So this is going to cancel out here. And this is going to cancel out here. And nothing's going to cancel out there. So we're going to take our calculator out. You can find it here. And we're going to crunch those numbers together to get our solution. So okay, so working this one out, 11x minus 11 times 1.2, we'll do that. 13.2 plus 11x plus 13.2, okay, equals, and now we've got to work this out. This is going to be a difference of squares, so it's going to be x squared plus 1.2x minus 1.2x minus 1.2 times 1.2. So that's 1.44. Okay, the x's cancel out because one's negative and one's positive when you do the FOIL there. But we have to multiply that also by 4. So we'll put the 4 in there as well. That 4. So then these cancel out here. We've got 22x is equal to 4x squared minus 1.44 times 4, which is 5.76. And here we have a quadratic equation to solve now. So this is where you're going to have to use the quadratic formula. So what we do is we take this number and bring it over to this side to get a quadratic formula. So we subtract 22x from both sides. So we got 4x squared minus 22x minus 5.76. Okay, now we have to solve for x. The only way we can solve for x is by factoring or by using the quadratic formula. In this case, it's not going to factor easily. So if we move that up, we're going to use the quadratic formula to solve this. So it's minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And that's going to give us our x value. One will be positive, one will be negative probably, and the positive one will make sense, the negative one won't make sense. So we got negative 22, that's b right there. So that's 22 plus or minus the square root of negative 22 squared. Okay, and then we got negative 4, and a is 4, and c is negative 5.76. All divided by 2 times 4. Okay, so we're going to work this thing out here underneath the square root sign. So I'm going to go 14 times 4 times 5.76. Okay, so that's going to give us 322.56 under the root sign, or not under the root sign. For the second part here, that's positive. Pardon me, this should be negative right here, right? It's a negative number, so this makes this all positive. So let's just write it out here. So this is going to be plus 32256, and then 22 squared, negative 22 squared is 484. And then this is over 8. Okay, so we add these two numbers together, 484 plus 322.56. Okay, and then we square root it. So that's 28.4. So if I get this, this is 22 plus or minus 28.4 over 8. Okay, now the negative number is not going to make any sense because you're not going to be going backwards as your normal speed. So you're going to go 22 plus 28.4 divided by 8. So 28.4 plus 22 divided by 8. Sorry, I did that one wrong. 28.4, we'll do it again here, plus 22. Okay, that's 50.4 divided by 8. And you get 6.3. Okay, the negative one would be like negative 6.4 divided by 8. So the negative is not going to make any sense. This is going to be kilometers per hour. So that would be his normal bike speed without wind at his back or pushing him. And that's an example of how you do those types of questions there, Chase. So I'll send you this. Hopefully that'll help you out. And sorry I got it to you so late, but hopefully that'll get you across the finish line there. I think in terms of where you are working on that hand in Unit 4, that's pretty good. That gives you, if you look at the last unit, it's only a 6-day, 7-day unit. So in January, you should have no trouble getting through and finishing up. Okay, good job this year so far, and I hope this helps you. So I'm going to put her on pause I guess stop it as soon as I can find my thing here, and enjoy your Christmas break, and hopefully this helps you.